All right, as you're finding your seats here, I want to introduce an all-time Gopher great. He's going to lead our conversation with Jared Allen tonight. Everybody in this room, I think, knows him. Multiple-time All-American, multiple-time national champ. A guy who didn't have a lot of offers coming out of high school and made the best of his situation here at the university, became a legend. Join me in welcoming Tim Hartog.
Hey!
Thank you. So, Coach Becker and Coach Hagum asked me a couple weeks ago if I would entertain the idea of interviewing our guest speaker tonight. And I said, wait a second, I'm not a Vikings fan. I grew up in Wisconsin, man. I'm a Packers fan. They said, that's okay. Attaboy, Cole. And they came up with the idea of let's start this thing off with the Vikings skull chant. And I said, well, what the hell is that? And they said, well, we'll pull in one of our all-time greats, two-time national champion Tony Nelson, to help us lead this thing off. So please be ready to help us entertain the skull chant for Mr. Allen here. Take it away. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Let's welcome our guest speaker for the night, five-time Pro Bowl selection, one of the best players in the NFL, most exciting anyway if you watched him play, but one of the best Vikings in the history of the NFL, Mr. Jared Allen.
Appreciate it. Don't feel bad. I don't know that chant either. That was after my time. I came back here. You guys, the wrestlers are short though, aren't you? Tony, back up here. I need to be surrounded by tall people. Come on. But no, I came back for a game. My goodness, I guess a couple years back, or when they came into the bank, and Jeff Anderson, and Ryan Harper, our media guys, were like, "Hey, bring me out the thing," and everybody's doing this clapping chant. They're looking at me like I'm an idiot. I'm like, this wasn't around when I was here. Like, you don't know this? And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't know this. When are we at clapping to Skull Vikings? I remember Skull Vikings. Let's win. That's what I remember, right? So this new wave crap, I'm over it. Let's go back to Skull Vikings. Tony, it's good to see you're multi-talented, bud. I like the drumming aspect. So don't feel bad. And we all can't be perfect. You know, Vikings, we're perfect. Minnesota, Packers, not so perfect. It's cool. They didn't make the playoffs last year either, so it's good.
Interesting. I got into a conversation with Little Hagum, Coach Hagum's son. Last night, we picked him up, took him to the duel against Cal State Bakersfield. And my son's a big Packer fan because he wants to be like Dad. That's the only reason. And Grayson Hagum is a little bit passionate, so he starts jaw-jacking about the Vikings and Packers and how the Vikings are going to beat them. And I said, straight up, man, come on, let's be honest. If you could choose either Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers, be honest, who would you choose? And he hung tight, man. Aaron Rodgers is a baby. I would choose Kirk Cousins every time. I did not swear at him, Coach.
Coach, Do not take him to Vegas. Don't do it.
Oh man.
But I love his loyalty. Can't teach that.
In my time watching the Vikings, one of the people that I would probably say I was a fan of is you.
I appreciate it.
And I would say this, even though the rumor has it, you weren't a wrestler, but it seems like you played like one. Passionate, determined, competitive. Everybody has that question for a guy like you that reached the pinnacle of in our society, one of the best sports around. What do you when people ask, what gave you the edge?
So yeah, it's a question I often get. People say, like, what made you better than other people? And it's never I don't think what people think it is. It's really a simple answer. It's old fashioned. It's work ethic and a determination to do whatever it takes to win. And I got the chance to speak with the guys earlier today, the team. And that's the same message I gave them, is that, and it's a message that radiates not just in sports, not football, not just any sport really in life. It's a work ethic, right? I grew up on a ranch. Since I can remember, I've been cleaning stalls and not getting paid for it. My dad still owes me money for that. But it was the idea of work, right? And I can remember my family went through a bankruptcy, and my old man worked 3 jobs to make sure we had food on the table. So in my childhood, it was work ethic, and my grandfather was military, so it was work ethic, and then there's just the extra, right? Like I said, being willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. So when all things are equal, what's going to be the deciding factor? What are the tangibles that I have control over, right? It's my conditioning, my mental preparation, and just flat out being willing to do. If I have to take a piece of your ear, it's going to happen, right? I'm going to be meaner, tougher, stronger, and however we got to get that done, it's going to happen. And so that's really the thing. I mean, I guess I was slightly meaner than other people. That's why I played football.
That's awesome. Again, fits that wrestling mentality. Probably would have been a good one.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Talk about that later.
One of the questions that kind of comes out, and what we're raising money for tonight, is having mentors and coaches and people around the Minnesota Gopher program that can help, push, motivate, and extend the athletes that we have. So in an organization like the Vikings, and you've played for other teams too, but just maybe talk about the impact that the personnel, the coaches, all the people that the NFL has around you, like we're trying to build here. What that's done for you.
I think any athlete would be a fool to tell you they don't have a support group to get them there, right? Whether it's your family, your spouse, trainers, coaches, chaplains. An athlete, to be at an elite level, right, it's a group effort to eliminate distractions. And so the program you guys are trying to create here in a more simplistic way to put it, you're trying to eliminate the distractions of life for these guys to focus solely on one goal, right? And that is to be the absolute best at the pinnacle of their sport. And in the NFL, obviously, we have many resources, obviously lots of money, but again, it comes down to the athlete's choice of using those resources as well. So for me, I've been surrounded by phenomenal people ever since I was young. I had a dad that pushed me wholeheartely. I had great Pop Warner coaches. We won a couple national championships at Pop Warner. Sadly, that's the last championship I won. That sucks. Maybe I should have had him in the NFL. But no, I just had great coaching along the way, right? Technique. And great human beings along the way. I had the pleasure to play for Dick Vermeil as I came out of college. And I got to be surrounded by greats like Tony Gonzalez, Ty Law. People think, you look at Tony Gonzalez, you think, oh, he's a freak athlete, right? Tony is extremely handsome. Ladies, extremely handsome. But that dude was out of practice 20 minutes early every day. Every catch you've seen Tony Gonzalez catch in his career, he's got 100 times over. He runs the top end of his routes and has a coach throwing balls low, high, cross, one hand, two hand. There's not a ball that Tony Gonzalez has caught in his career that he has not caught in practice. I got the pleasure with Will Shields. Will Shields taught me, when you put your hand in the dirt, it is game time. I still have a scar on my ribs where wheel shields did something to me I didn't much appreciate. But he taught me, it's never a lackluster job. When your hand goes in dirt, we win at all costs, no matter what. Willie Rofe, I got to play against him. And there's a guy who walked like this, top like he can barely move. But when Willie puts his feet in the ground and he puts his hands on you, there's a chance you're probably going to the ground in a violent way, right? Had great coaches in Bob Carmella, who's God rest his soul, as a technician. I got to play for Herm Edwards, who taught me a lot about just being a man. And that's the other thing as athletes, people don't realize if you have distractions in your life, you can't focus on the field, right? So Herm really helped me, be a better man. And Herm's philosophy was, I will take 53 great men versus 53 great athletes, and I will win with them every day. Getting to Minnesota was huge. Brad Childress, huge part of my life, huge part of my career. Showed a lot of faith in me coming off of getting in some trouble in Kansas City, and to give me the contract they gave me and the expectations that come with it. That's where I met Tom and Jeannie Lanfear, who absolutely helped guide my path on my spiritual life and just the fundamentals of what I believe in as a human being. And I think that's the core, and slightly off topic, but the program you guys are creating, the RTC program, that it encompasses all that. If it's done properly, if you're going to set it up properly, it encompasses all that, right? Because you've got to know who a person is at their core, right? What are your fundamental values? Like, what do you stand for in life? As my grandfather used to say. He just passed away, but he fought in many wars. He was 23 years Marine Corps. He told me one time, he said, son, I drug this last name through many, many wars, not for you to screw it up. He used some slightly different language. But I was like, all right, Grandpa, I'm going to figure out who I am as a human being. Then we'll worry about football. But no, and that's what the NFL program is, right? They're in the Minnesota Vikings program. There's people in the organization that you can draw yourself to and that are there for you, and it's in a weird way. The time you think you're doing it to better yourself from an athletic standpoint, but in reality, you're betting yourself from a human being standpoint. And what I found through my career is that when football went lower on my priority list, I became a lot better at it. And I say that in the weird way is that when I decided that, Christ was first, my family, and then, and not just, I've always had those orders, but when I decided not to be afraid of it, right? And you can stand up, yeah, this is what I am, this is what I do. And your true person comes out, all of a sudden, you're not worried about what you did the week before. You're not worried about, oh crap, I probably should have done that, or I shouldn't be here, I should be there. You got a peace and you get to focus on your job. When you go to work, I used to tell guys, come in, baby mama drama, all that stuff. Like, dude, I don't know, choose one. Just choose one. One woman. You'll be all right. We can focus on football, okay? Leave that there. We got work over here, right? So I just tell people all the time, the greatest gift about getting married and knowing I have the peace, I go anywhere in the city I want. And I know my wife knows me, I know my wife, you know what I mean? But those are the examples of what a program like that can do, because it eliminates distractions. And if the athletes are willing to fully buy into it and accept the resources of it and truly become who you want to be as an individual, I promise you your talent will go to the next level, because you got nothing to do but focus on the gift that God gave you. And that's obviously for you guys trying to be world-class, elite, Olympic-style wrestlers. And for me, it was trying to be the very best defensive end I could always be. And, I was always chasing guys like Derek Thomas, and, you had Chris Dolman here. It wasn't name the names, coming in here with Johnny Randall and stuff like that. But again, surrounded by phenomenal people. So, again, when people ask what makes you the best as well, it's not just me, it's the support and the cast that you have around you.
Successful people like yourself have an awesome knack for giving back. Through Tom and his resources and getting you to come and talk to us tonight, but you talked to the college guys today. When you get a chance to talk to young people about, what it is that helped you succeed, what was the message like that you gave the boys today?
Yeah, to me, I very much enjoy working with younger kids, right? Now I'm getting older, like I said. I first spoke to wrestling 10 years ago. Oh my goodness. I thought I was just barely 18. in my head. But no, it's my message is always the same. It's detailing your work, right? You know, you're a Division I wrestler. I'm not going to sit here and talk technique with guys. They know wrestling 10 times more than I'll know wrestling. But what I know works, and again, every business person tries the same thing. When you don't pay attention to the details, they get away from you, right? So I know for me, anytime I was in a slump or anytime I could figure out like, man, something's not right. I go back and watch film, and it was the details. Okay, how's my stance? How's my get? That's simple. All right, you know, I need to figure out. I got to make sure my stance is right and my get off is right. And if those two things aren't right, it doesn't matter what I do at the top end of my rush. It doesn't matter how great a hand moves or whatever I want to do. It's not going to work. So, but every time I talk to young kids, it's not. You want to deflate that bubble of what greatness is, and that is unattainable, right? Because greatness is actually very easily attainable if you take the steps to do it. I read a book one time, and I read. You guys, it's okay. Football players read. Act so shocked. We're smart-ish. No, but it talks about, and Tony Gonzalez started this. So I used to write all my goals down and give them to my coach, right? For the simple fact that if you can say you want to do something, but you don't have it, if you write it down, now it's written down. Now I have to look at it, right? But if I give it to somebody else, now I'm accountable to it. So Tony Gonzalez used to make me write my goals down and give them to my coach every year. And for my entire career, I wrote my goals down and I gave them to my coach. And it would start with simple things like, okay, what are my individual goals? Mark them up, and it's the little things like, I want to get 75 tackles, right? Because we had a rule: you can't rush the quarterback until you stop the run. You got to earn the right to rush the quarterback, right? So just little mundane details. Okay, what do I want to clean up this year from training camp? All right, I need to gain an extra step, half a step on my first step, or I need better hand placement. You know. A lot of people watch film and be like, oh, Dwight Freeney spins and that kind of stuff. It's so cool. But, you know, again, break it down to its simple and facet. And if you take care of the details and, you know, get all the lights out of the way, take it down to its basic core of what got you to where you're at that point, and just continue. We used to call them EDDs, everyday drills, right? And we would rep them every single day. 5-yard get off, 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 first step, until it's just mundane. And then, you know, there's going to be a time where your back's going to be against the wall, you're going to be in a slump, you're going to be something, and it's going to click and be like, I got this. And your details and your fundamentals and your technique's going to be better than the next guy, and you're going to win.
Let's switch gears for a second. I think the rumor was that back in the day, you thought about wrestling. And something went wrong.
Yeah, I did. So 7th grade, I was actually the #1 wrestler in my class. I was a big fireman's carry guy. Like, how cool is it to like throw a high crotch and then just dump a dude on his neck? Like, that's tight, right? I don't even know if you guys do that anymore. But I like that move. And then I came out. It was the day. I think it was the day before the match, and we had our weigh-ins, right? And then they brought out what they like to call the wrestling singlet. I was in 7th grade. My body was going through some changes. I'm not afraid to admit it. And I looked at that coach and I said, "You are out of your dang mind if you think I'm putting that stupid thing on." He said, "Son, this is our uniform." And it was old spaghetti strap, you know, little low cut thing. It was a hot mess. Green. I said, "Nope." I said, "You have to wear it." I said, "No, I don't." I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I quit." I walked out of the room. I told my dad played football and he wrestled. He said, "How wrestling go today?" I said, "I quit." I said, "Why?" I said, "I'm not wearing a stupid ass leotard." Done. So, that was it. My wrestling career was over. I was out of it.
That still happens today.
Yeah, listen. Hey.
Still does.
I made a decision. I was like, that's going to be a bad junior high career. I'm going to go ahead and roll my dice on football.
Let's go back to football.
That's much better.
Back to football for a second. You've played in the league a long time for multiple teams. What was your favorite team to beat? And then let's go down to quarterback. Who was the best quarterback that you got a chance to sack?
Oh, so the best quarterback hands down is I did sack Brett, but best quarterback hands down is Peyton Manning to sack. A, because he whines. That's always great. B, he just gets rid of the ball so fast. He's so good. I hate the fact that I have to like talk good about him. I really don't like that dude. His head's oddly shaped. No, I'm cool with it. But no, they won. Anyway, you know, Drew Brees is a super tough guy. But you know, see, when I was with the Chiefs, always got to beat the Broncos. Like every time we got to beat the Broncos, that was fun. Jake Plummer was a nightmare to chase around. And believe it or not, some age myself more. I actually played against Doug Flutie, so sucks. I had a bowl of Flutie flakes afterwards, so that was cool. But then, you know, when I was here at Green Bay, hands down. I mean, you beat Green Bay, especially beating Green Bay in Green Bay is the best. They all cry. Not that it happened often, but it did happen, and it felt so good. Green Bay is kind of pompous. I don't know. They're like this little pompous team, which is weird because it's the most blue-collar community I've ever seen in my life. But you get up there, and Aaron and all those guys are all hoity-toity. I don't know. You know what? It drives me nuts. But yeah, that's my answer.
We're gonna scratch that question from next year's program. Let's talk about what you think, or what's your favorite game? Your best game of your NFL?
Oh, you know what? So I was actually talking about this with Tom earlier, and for me, most of my games are moments, right? It's not like a favorite game; it's a favorite moment of a game. One that always sticks in my head is 2009. We were playing the Niners, and we were killing them. And all of a sudden, all hell was breaking loose, and we had a guy come into the locker room. Greg Lewis was his name. We called him Jiffy Lube because he looked like he just got done changing oil, you know, at Jiffy Lube. He had this scraggly, patchy beard. We're like, this guy's from Philly. No one's ever heard of this guy. All of a sudden, he's playing. And Brad's like, no, trust me. Good guy, good player, phenomenal human being. I love Greg Lewis. And this dude comes in out of nowhere, and Brett throws this pass to the back of the end zone, and we're watching this thing like, well, we lost this game. And all of a sudden, Greg Lewis out of nowhere comes through like one-handed catch, feet are in, like, what the heck? So that's one of my all-time favorite moments. You know, believe it or not, playing in you know, lost the Super Bowl, so that sucked, but it was fun. Lost the NFC Championship, so that sucked, but that was fun too. I don't know, 22 sacks, obviously when I got 22, that was like one of the happiest days of my career and saddest because I had a chance for 23. They left me one-on-one with a tight end, and I slipped and fell because I'm super uncoordinated. So that was terrible. Actually, I had 23 that year. I had a sack against Aaron Rodgers. True story. Aaron, every time I see him, which is weird because we've known each other.
Roughing the passer.
No, you think me and him would have some other stuff to talk about, right? Every time I see him, I still can't believe they didn't give you that sack. I'm like, Aaron, we've been over this for 10 years. Ask me how my kids are, bro. Like, that's all we gotta do. But no, so I actually sacked Aaron. We were up in Green Bay. Had a sack on him. Had 2 that day. And they took one from me on Wednesday because they called it a muff. They said so I threw my guy into him. He dropped the ball, picked up, ran with it. I sacked him. They gave it a team sack and took it away from me. So my 23rd sack actually got taken from me on a Wednesday. I've been fighting it for years and they won't give it back to me. So, but yeah, that's but other than that, yeah, like I said, so I don't really have a game. Like, I remember my very first NFL game. Like I said, I told the kids they were like group of Raiders fan, right? And I was playing with the Chiefs. I'm sitting there on kickoff return, which, by the way, the wedge was the dumbest thing ever invented. And I'm in the wedge. And I'm watching these guys run 40 yards at my face. And all I can think, like, well, this is super cool. I'm playing against the Raiders right now. And then I got hit really hard. I was like, oh, crap. Pay attention to what you're doing. Focus on the details. So, yeah, just moments like that. I don't know if I have a favorite game. Honestly, I enjoyed the heck out of my career. I really did. How often you get to play in front of 80,000 fans and do cool things, so.
Oh, great career, man, that's for sure. Super fun to watch. Tom Lanfear said, you got to wiggle this question in there. So you were just talking about Aaron Rodgers, and he said, you got to ask him. So, because in the college day, in wrestling, in the wrestling world, Minnesota, Iowa, during my time, was a pretty big rivalry. Like, you're never going to see a Gopher and a Hawkeye over in the corner giggling and laughing about anything. So he goes, you got to ask him, because during some of those Packer Vikings games, there's him and Aaron Rodgers over there like laughing before the game. It's like, what's so funny?
Yeah, so my very first game with Minnesota was Monday night against the Packers. And I learned some inside information about Aaron I won't go into. I don't know if it's true or not, but I took it as gospel. And I made some pretty derogatory comments to him. This was back when I used severe foul language. So that year at the Pro Bowl, you can imagine it was kind of awkward between the two of us. Like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? He was like, why would you say those things? I'm like, yeah, I'm a jerk. I apologize-ish. It was funny, I thought. But anyways, started a pseudo friendship. Obviously respect the heck out of the guy. He's an amazing quarterback, heck of a competitor. So we kind of became friends over the year. So we were in a timeout, we're sitting there, and I'm talking to him, and we're BSing. And he was like, man, I tell you what, my offensive line puts you in the Pro Bowl every single year. And I was like, yeah, besides Antoine Winfield, so does our DBs. So putting him in the Pro Bowl every year. So we were just talking about how bad each other's secondary and offensive line was. And it was one of those moments where I don't think he expected a comeback. I think he was trying to be like a slight dig, like, oh, you're not that good, my offensive line's really bad. So I was like, yeah, well, you're not that great with 3 blind dudes and 1 good dude out here. So, always a fun time with Terry. That's awesome.
One of our all-time greats, heavyweight national champion Brock Lesnar, spent a little bit of time with the Vikings. I know you know him a little bit, know him quite well. Just give us a little bit about what you know about Brock, how that time was with the Vikings, and just him as a person.
So yeah, I was actually with Kansas City when Brock was with Minnesota, and so we scrimmaged them. Mike Tice was the coach back then. I was with, I think it was Vermeil, was our team. So there was just a lot of fights going on. That was the weird deal. Mike Tice really liked the guys to fight. Coach Vermeil pretended he didn't like the guys to fight, would cry about it, but really liked the guys to fight. He'd be like yelling at you while he's patting you on your back. Don't you ever do that again. Great job. So I didn't really spend much time with Brock. But Brock was better suited for the wrestling mat. Let's put it that way. Big dude, strong dude, but again, that's why sports are cool, right? They're always humbling. At some point, you're always going to be humbled. So in one sport, your body might be awesome. But Brock, I just remember he would get him off the line, he would stand up and catch everybody, right? And grab him. I'm like, that sucks for the dude getting grabbed. But there's another dude ear holding you right now, so well, I want to pay attention. But no, like, you know, you can tell he was never taught how to use his hands, right? But big dude. So years later, I got to go up and do a little ESPN deal with him. I'm a big MMA guy, so I trained MMA for almost 10 years, 9 years, I think. A lot of fight guys. Trained with some wrestling guys that some of you guys in here know. So I do know my way around the mat a little bit. I'll never claim to even be close to what you guys are throwing around, but I will eye gouge the piss out of you, so be careful. But so Brock and I got to go up, and he was training, and Brock's obviously throwing up stupid weight. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's painful watching this guy lift weights. I'm like, and so we went out, we pretended to do some ice fishing, and it was really, really cold, and the photo shoot was taking way too long. But I got to chat with him, and we were laughing about, his days at training camp in Minnesota, and I was in Kansas City. But yeah, you know what I think I got to know about him as a person? He was incredibly soft-spoken. You know, like super kind of chill. I just expected his persona to be his persona, and so. But I know, like, from guys around the locker room, they said, I'll tell a funny story, and I can't verify it. Maybe Brock can. But they said, so rookies, I don't care who you are, how old you are, if you're a rookie in training camp, it is your backside. You are getting messed with. At least that's the way it used to be. So I heard, so Kevin Williams, these guys were telling me that, you know, Hovan and Brock became good buds. But they decided, all right, we're going to get Brock. It's time. His butt's getting taped up. And supposedly, they started creeping down the hallway towards his room, somewhere in that area, and he opened the door and was in some short shorts and about 290 yoked and was like, who wants some? And we was like, not me, I'm out. See ya. I was like, I love it. So those are the Brock Lesnar stories I know, but yeah, so It was cool to see him cross over though. I thought you know what I think the coolest part about that was just to do it. You have an opportunity, why not try? You know what I mean? So I think again, I have a lot of respect for people that aren't afraid of failure and that go out and chase their dreams and try to make things happen.
Okay, final two questions. I know, elite athletes, many of us in this room, have a hard time letting go. Once you're done, like what are you going to do next? You always have that thing. Talk to us a little bit about this curling thing.
Yeah, so for me, letting go is not an issue. I wish I would have retired 2 years earlier. But Chris Carter told me, he's like, hey, we think you're done, play 2 more years. And thanks, Chris. I ruptured my L5 twice. Thanks, bud. Appreciate that. So no, the curling thing has nothing to do with, wanting to compete more. I always love competing. I always love Sundays. They're great. But for me, it's the preparation, right? So for me, I knew I was done. I was a rare guy that had never been cut. Every time I was traded was on because I asked for it and got to go to the team I wanted to go to. So it worked out well. And again, my career, thank God, just plugged away where it needed to go. But I was sitting around. Had a bet with a buddy of mine a couple years before I retired. We were playing golf, and I was like, dude, like 3 years after I retire, I can make a PGA Tour event, easy. I love golf. And he's like, not a chance. I'm like, bro, I'm mentally tough. I'm like, for sure, I'm making a PGA event. May or may not have had a couple cocktails. I don't know, but. So a bet gets thrown out, and I'm like, done, let's do it. It's something stupid, I don't even remember, but it was a very large number. I knew he couldn't afford it, and he probably knew I had no chance of winning the bet. So I took it. So about 2 years into my retirement, I was playing at the Tahoe tournament, and I shot terribly, and he was like, you want to just pay now, or like, you're no chance. So I just watched Eddie the Eagle, right? I was watching Eddie the Eagle, and he was at my house, and we're sitting over by the fire pit, and my financial guy was there too, so I was like, all right, yeah. So he calls me out on the bet. He's like, dude, Jeff, you got to just pay up the bet. I'm like, first of all, you can't even afford the bet. So bet's null and void. Until you can put money in the escrow account, not happening, right? So we started jibber-jabbering, and I was like, you know what, let's parlay this. I bet I can make the Olympics. I can become an Olympic athlete. Like Eddie the Eagle could do it, I definitely could do it. So he's like, oh, done. So we determined another amount and make the bet. And so I started Googling and like what USA is terrible at what, So we've never won in badminton. Get that one out of there, right? Like tons of people are shooting. Like there was a whole bunch of lists of things. I'm like, okay, I got this. All I gotta do is pick the event that we are the worst at. Got this, Maybe they'll want to. Maybe my name will have just like enough clout to get me on the team. All I gotta do is walk, and I'm winning. I don't even have to participate. I'll pull a hammy before I have to participate. So I choose badminton, right? I started looking at USA Badminton. I'm like, how to become a member of USA Badminton? And it was just like, please, we need members of USA Badminton. Sign up. All right, cool. So I signed up for USA Badminton. I got an email back that was like, you are a proud member of USA Badminton. Yes. So I do that, and then we decided to move to Nashville, and I was gonna be like, all right, I'm going solo. I was like, we've been a team sport guy my whole life. I'm rocking solo. Then I was like, that's gonna be kind of boring. So I get to Nashville, and I run into Mark Bolger, and we read the same members of the same golf club, and I'm like, so what are you up to? And I'm like, I think we're making an Olympic run for badminton. I'm like, you in? He's like, yep. He's like, sweet. All right. So I booked this a tournament at like St. Joe's Cathedral in Connecticut. It was like a 30 and older group. I'm like, this is great. We are gonna smash in some grandpas. And I'm like, I got range. I got change of direction, heart. This dude's got no chance. So I started watching a bunch of USA Badminton film, and these little dudes are everywhere. They were like just flies. My wife was like, you have no chance. Like, you're gonna hurt yourself. She said, your back is gonna break. And right about that time, I get a text from Mark. It was like, no badminton. I don't feel this, bro. We're going badminton. This is happening. He's like, I can't do it. He's like, my body won't hold up. And he's like, there's got to be another sport. I'm like, crap. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, we got like 1 bronze medal in curling. I'm like, we're terrible at curling. And then I read, it's like, most people join at 40 years old. The winners have to buy a loser a beer. And I was like, this is dope. Oh, a bunch of overweight dudes. So, and conveniently, the way to join USA or to be a so-called USA, to compete to get onto USA curling is you send an email. This is great. Amateur sports are phenomenal. Just send emails and you can be whatever you want. So we signed up for a tournament. It was like, what level do you want to curl at? I was like, elite. Sweet. I'm an elite curler. What's your team? Made up some names. But so we were like, all right, at least now we have 4 years. My mindset was I can master anything in 4 years. Come on, right, guys? I mean, if you're an athlete, 4 years, we got this. So we get on the ice. I get a call from previous 2010 Olympian who wants to be our coach. I'm like, cool, this is awesome. So we start learning how to do it. Again, it's the first tournament we go to is up in Evelyn, Minnesota, which, by the way, I've never been up in the Iron Range. Ooh, that is an experience. You guys should figure that out. You guys should really check that one out. Different. Awesome, but different. So I sign up, and it's, I'm an elite curler now. Cool, who's my first match? The gold medalists. I had to play the freaking gold medalists. And in my head, I'm like, this is the dumbest sport I've ever done in my life. At what point does it make sense that a guy who clicked elite curler, who's never curled in his life, is now playing the gold medalists? I'm like, they need to figure out their organizational skills. Like, this setup is bad, right? And then I'm like, crap, I sound like an a-hole. I remember we were talking about making the Olympics. But before, when I made the comment that I was trying to become an Olympic curler, we were terrible. We hadn't done anything. And then Schuster goes on this magical run, wins gold. Now I'm the jerk who wants to be a curler after we win the gold. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Eddie the Eagle is not coming to true. So then, go curl, got my butt kicked for an entire year. But the curling community is cool, we've learned a lot. And so I was like, I'm gonna cheat the system. I'm going to bring a very experienced curler on my team. So I went and got an Olympian on my team, and I was like, yeah, what's up? So now we're back to winning. So now we're elite curling.
All right, final question. Even as a Packer fan, watching you play for the Vikings, probably the most exciting thing was your sack dance.
Okay.
Give us a little insight on where that came about.
So I grew up on a ranch, right? I grew up calf roping. And when you're roping, right, so you throw the calf down, you tie 3 of the legs up, and you put after you tie them up, throw your arms in the air, and they stop the clock, right? So then the calf has to usually stay tied, I believe it's 6 seconds afterwards. But when I was in my career, my first, back in Kansas City, my buddy and I, my college tight end, he never got to score a touchdown, in college, which tells you how good he was. You're the starting tight end, how do you not score at least 1 touchdown? I played defense and I had 1 offensive touchdown in college. Like, come on. But we had this thing, right, where, how bodybuilders, they shake their thighs out and they're flexing. So our goal was we were gonna, we'd hit high five, come around, and then flex our quads. So I was like, listen, bro, my first sack in the league, I'm gonna rock your celebration. Good to go. So I sacked my first preseason game, got a sack against Eli Manning. I do the celebration. I got a $5,000 fine for being sexually suggestive. So this sucks. I need a new celebration. This isn't working for me. So it's exactly what it said on the letter. I was like, this is ridiculous. You got Coy Detmer doing whatever this is, and I'm over here, I'm a bodybuilder, can they tell? So that next sack dances for a while. So then when I made the team, the guys were like, bro, you gotta do something. So then they used to just tell me, because I was a rookie, they would tell me what I had to do after I got a sack. So we were playing Dallas one time, and they made me do like spirit fingers, high kick. And again, my D-line coach at the time was old school, and he was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, coach, they're making me do it. I had to do like the lawnmower one time, and then it was just bad, right? And so we're playing the Chargers. Neil Smith comes, we're honoring Neil Smith. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get a sack, I'm gonna do Neil Smith's celebration for him. So I had a pretty good game. I think I had like 2.5 sacks that game. And so I did his celebration for him. He came, so we went to dinner afterwards, and he was like, man, that was awesome, I appreciate you doing the celebration. He's like, so you need to find something that was you. Like, what did you do growing up? I was like, I roped. I was like, man, that might work. He was like, what's up, guys? So I told him, a calf rope, and he was like, that's freaking awesome. It's like, that is kind of awesome. So I started doing it, and the fans, they loved it, they stuck around, and then the league tried to fine me for putting my knee on the ground, all that nonsense. But yeah, so that's how it came about. That's how it stuck. All because of high fives.
Gopher fans, let's get on our feet.
My back doesn't work.
Here's the deal. You get to pick out anybody except me because I'm up here with you.
Oh,
Who do you want to sack real quick?
I'll be honest. Oh, so he knows it. So let's see if Conrad can do it properly. Let's let Conrad demonstrate it. Yes.
Oh, come you have to stand up.
Yes. I like the extra. You even took it out the mouth. Yeah. I had a face mask on, so I couldn't do it. But everybody's like, "What is that, Jack in the Box?" I'm like, "No. What's wrong with you people? Are you stirring it up?" No. I had to educate the fans over the years.
You guys want to get on your feet and say thanks to Jared Allen?
Hey, Jared, before you take a seat, if you wouldn't mind, we're about to get our live auction started. Would you put a signature on this helmet for us?